Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this webinar. My name is Liz Allen, and I'm with Sarah Wilson. Hopefully you can see our screen, which should say have a welcome message on it, and you should be able to hear me. So I'm going to click to the next slide, and if for any reason you didn't hear me say that, then there's a question field on the right-hand side of the panel, which allows you to ask questions during the presentation. So we don't interrupt the flow, we'll come to those questions at the end of the time. But if you have any audio problems, and it's obviously a little challenging, if you can't hear me, then you can't tell me about them. But if you do have any problems, please just put them into the question file, and we'll get around to them. So I'm just going to introduce myself and Sarah. I'm the Group Marketing Director at Customer Focus, and Sarah is our Digital Marketing Executive. We basically supply the promotional product, print and sign industries with websites and CRM software. And both Sarah and I are millennials and promotional product buyers. We do buy promotional products, and I'm just a millennial. I'm on the cusp. I was born in 1980. Sarah is a fully fledged millennial with everything that goes with it. So very well qualified to help you with market to people like us. Ultimately, we are your new buyers. So without much further ado, I'm going to hand over to Sarah, and Sarah's going to take you through who millennials are and kind of what you need to do to start getting engagement with them.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. So first and foremost, I just want to, for all of you, to give yourself a pat on the back for joining this webinar, just taking the initiative to learn more about this topic. A lot of businesses aren't willing to adjust to change, but you are, and that speaks volumes. In business, it's easy to get into a routine. Your products and services are great, and you think, others should see it that way as well. But what every business owner needs to learn is that change is inevitable. So for those of you who are willing to adjust to that change and use it to your advantage, you're going to be the ones that will succeed in this industry. Okay, so let's get started with who they are. So, today we're going to talk about a new group of consumers that will be taking over very soon, so in the next 5 to 10 years. I'm sure some of you have heard about them, but for others this might be entirely new. So they're termed millennials, also known as Generation Y or Generation Me. As Liz noted earlier, they were born between 1980 and 2000, so they're currently between the ages of 13 to 34. And that might seem like a pretty wide array of people, but they all have pretty much the same characteristics when it comes to being a consumer. So they grew up in the era of technology, so they're used to everything being quick, responsive, readily accessible, and ultimately they'll have more buying strength than baby boomers and the generations that came before them, solely because of their size and because they are a more educated group of consumers. And a lot of their buying decisions and opinions come from communicating, with their friends and family on social media. So how they differ. So an important thing to note, about this group is that they've been marketed to pretty much since they were born. So they can smell a pushy salesperson from a mile away. They're not necessarily interested in being sold to. They're interested in being treated like an individual. So we'll get into that a little bit later and how you can treat them like an individual. So if a company is able to engage, with them with relevant information and also provide a service or product that they value, they'll stay loyal to you probably for a lifetime.
So we're just looking on screen here. So just to recap what Sarah's points are, these millennials have a greater purchasing power because they're better educated and they're very numerous. They place an awful lot of weight on their peers' opinions. So they are going to look around on the internet to see what other people are saying about your company. And that presents a challenge for very small companies, because it's not necessarily that you have bad press out there, but that you have no press out there. So we'll come to that in a little bit later. Keeping them engaged is not a question of just switching on a website or switching on a Facebook page and thinking that means you're suddenly down with kids. No. This is something that they need to see that you're invested in. And as Sarah said, they are savvy, very, very savvy. They don't like to be sold to. They want to have a solution presented to them, which is going to meet their needs rather than, they're very wary of the hard sell.
Okay, so let's get started. So, to understand these customers, you need to have a millennial-friendly sale, customer experience, and customer service approach. So this is your new buyer. They'll make up 50% of the workforce in 2020 and 75% in 2025. So that's in the very near future. 63% stay updated on brands through social media. So when it comes to online posts, social media, we like to follow the 80-20 rule. So with that, 20% of your posts, should be to promote your brand, and 80% should actually be content, that interests and engages your audience. And Liz is actually going to show you some great examples of that in a little bit. 41% of them have made a purchase using their smartphones, so mobile-friendly websites are a plus. And 44% are willing to promote products or services through social media in exchange for rewards. So they really do love, loyalty programs, coupons, things of that nature, and we'll touch on that a little bit later.
So it's worth noting that in the first quarter of 2015, millennials did overtake Generation X as the largest group in the American workforce. So it happened. They are already the largest group in the American workforce. So this is something you guys need to be moving on now, which obviously, as Sarah pointed out to start with, you're on this webinar, it's a bloody good start.
All right, so today these are the 6 generational characteristics that you need to understand. So we're going to go over each of these. We'll give you insight into how you can adjust your current business plan accordingly. So number 1, they make promotional purchases online. 2, they trust you more if you're on social media. 3, they're passionate about values. 4, reviews, case studies, or key purchase influencers. 5, they like and use coupons, and they actually make them more loyal to you. And 6, they want your online information to be up to date. So let's get started.
Okay, so I'm going to take over at this point and show you guys how some of the leading companies in this industry, I apologize for my Skype popping up, how some of these industries how some people in our industry have been able to apply what appeals to millennials to their own business model and have made great strides to selling to this younger group of people as a result. So as a starting point, it's worth noting that 89% of millennials make B2B business purchases online. So they do like to be spoken to. This isn't the end of the consultancy sale, but they do like the convenience of being able to buy the products online. So while they may wish to talk to you, they may wish to have an email conversation about their needs, they may wish to have a consultancy process. They also want the convenience and the speed and convenience and speed, frankly, of being able to buy a promotional item online. So just bear that in mind. It's not easy to sell promotional products online. We know this. There's an awful lot of permutations to take into account with freight and print areas and print methods and different colored options for sizes and t-shirts. And we know it's complicated, but it is something you should start thinking about anyway and start researching your options. They are looking to see your personality reflected in your website. Just bear in mind that even if you do end up having the sale with them through an email exchange, through a live chat exchange, through a meeting, they're still people, they still leave the office from time to time, then likely first impression of your company is going to be through your website. So your website should be reflective of you, your personality. And this is one thing that small business owners can do better than the big guys, because you're not sort of weighed down with red tape and 1,000 employees. There's maybe, 1 to 10 of you, and that means you guys got together from passion. You're not just a 9-to-5ers. This is what you do because you love it. It's really important that passion for what you do comes across in your website. Make sure that the pictures of your team are on your website. Make sure that there's a bio of your team on your website. They want to engage with you. They want to make sure that they're buying from somebody who cares as much about this as they do.
Yeah, when it comes to website design, I like to use the phrase eye candy with a purpose. So it should be, creative, engaging, beautiful, and also, keep that content that your consumer wants to see.
So I'm just going to click on to the next slide. We're going to run through the 6 examples that Sarah alluded to, and then I'm going to jump off the slideshow and just show you a few examples. So the next thing Sarah alluded to was social media, and this is basically some sound advice here on how to actually use social media. Bear in mind, and this is something somebody told me about a year ago, and they were absolutely on the money. I kept posting articles on our Facebook page that I thought were really useful for our customers, and get a few likes, but they were never sharing the content. And actually, the value, there's an awful lot of value, both from a search engine optimization perspective and from a customer engagement perspective, if your customers share your content. Obviously, that spreads your message over potentially limitless numbers of people. So when you're posting stuff on social media, don't think about kind of how it furthers your needs. Think about what they would want to share. So I'm going to show you some examples later on, but share things that are funny and engaging, and when somebody else shares them, it makes them look clever. I'll give you a classic example. One of our teams shared an infographic. We didn't draw it; somebody else drew it. An infographic about the value, about the power of color in logos. We shared it on LinkedIn. LinkedIn being a more formal networking platform as opposed to Facebook, which is generally more about the fun. It got hundreds of shares. Now, it wasn't even our infographic, so I can't remember who actually built the infographic, which doesn't say much for that. But that company's infographic got shared in dozens and dozens of different places and spread throughout social media because it was content that people were interested in, engaged, and it reflected well on them to share that content. So if that makes sense. So it's not about necessarily in educating your audience. It's about sharing things that they would want to share. If that makes sense. So one of the things you can't do on social media is just to do this relentless pitch about your products. It's not wildly interesting to people. They may like it from time to time, but they sure as heck aren't going to share that content. Why would they share you pitching about your product? So just think about that when you're thinking about what to post on social media, particularly Facebook. Think about what other people would want to share. And to be honest with you, right now, your key targets are going to be Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Obviously, there are dozens of other social media platforms. You can't be on everything, or at least you can't do a good job on everything. So if you need to focus down, focus, in my view, predominantly on Facebook and LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And post regularly. It's every time you find something interesting or amusing and you think it's appropriate, share it. As Sarah's made some notes here, it's a good way to engage people is to do contests and giveaways. So the next 5 people who like this will send you a free mug or a free koozie or something like that. And another good use of social media is to basically, once you have a customer who's following you on social media, that's an engaged customer. If somebody's gone to the trouble of actually liking and following your company, that's a really good indication that they're interested in what you do. So these are the people who you should be sharing potentially coupons with. So rather than just having it on your website, people log in 30% off first-time buyers, that's a bit feels too hard sell, feels a bit too car salesperson. But on the other hand, to an engaged group of people on social media, to all of our fans on social media, here's a free shipping offer for this week only. That's the sort of thing that will get people to actually pick up the phone or visit the website and buy. So here's an interesting one, which very, very, very few distributors are actually doing. It's value marketing, cause marketing. Millennials, if price and quality are the same, they will go for a company that shows that it is socially, environmentally, ethically conscientious. So, and this is, it sounds really kind of forced telling you should do this, because ultimately you should find a cause that you genuinely care and are genuinely passionate about. But then don't hide the fact that you care and that you give your time, or you give money, or you fundraise for these people. It sounds a bit forced, but it's really important that people know. Millennials like people who care. They're a very caring and conscientious organization. So if you, for example, do a marathon run in aid of cancer research, or you do a what do you call the thing? A food thing where everyone brings food.
Oh, a food drive.
Yeah, potluck thing, and pot something. I'm quite sure.
There is a potluck, but that's more like when you bring food to the office.
Okay.
There's food drives. So if you had canned food that you wanted to give out for Thanksgiving or something as minimal as that. But like Liz was noting, it shouldn't just be something that you cross off of a checklist, but it's something that actually you and your coworkers should really care about, and it's actually a really great team building exercise, and it can ultimately shape who you are as a brand and help differentiate you from competitors.
Yeah, so I want to get our team together and go and do some mud runs for charity, and I also think it will help our team. So everyone wins. The charity wins, the team wins, and you win as a company because people will see that you are trying to make a difference in the world. Yeah. So it's definitely worth If you're doing it, make sure you're telling people that you do it. So this is what Sarah alluded to earlier, how influenced millennials are by the opinions of other people, by their peers. If you don't already ask every single customer for a testimonial, start asking them. If you don't ask, you don't get. And if you did a good job, then well, of course you did a good job. Then ask, you know, it doesn't hurt. You know, the people who are getting the top of TripAdvisor, you go into one of their restaurants, they ask you for a review.
Yeah.
They give you a little card saying, give us a review, or, you know, check in here, give us a review on Yelp and we'll give you a 10% discount. They're actively seeking reviews and testimonials. You guys should do the same. Every single customer's order should be followed up with an email saying, if you're happy, please drop us a few lines to say that you're happy.
Yeah, and you'd be surprised how far, you know, a friendly email or phone call can go. I think it was my first day here, and they asked me to call some of our customers and ask how they felt about our service, and I was a little nervous, but, you know, the response that I got was open arms. Everybody was more than happy to give feedback. So as long as you're trying, you know, that's a good start, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised how many people are willing to give you, you know, a review or a case study.
And so obviously once you've got some case studies, there's no good them just sitting on your email. You need to have them on your website on a dedicated page for testimonials and case studies. I would recommend having these testimonials all over the website. So have them on the footer of your website. You know, it's a very good idea to put people's faces on there so that people, particularly if it's not a very well-known company, so that people don't think you made it up. You should always lead with the best-known companies. So if you do work with, I don't know, Samsung or McDonald's, look at you, good job. They should be top of the list because it has more credibility if they're better known. But if they are a small company, you know, just make sure you put a logo or a face or a name on there, because it's, you know, it is obviously easy just to fake these, and you want to make sure that nobody thinks you're doing that.
Yeah.
Coupons, and this is a kind of a sticky wicket for the promotional products industry, because, you know, we're all being told, and I do completely buy into this, that to win against the online price cutters, you've got to sell on a consultancy-led basis, and I do agree with that. You know, you add value. You add value to the process by being a consultant, by saying to somebody, oh, it's not just a question of wanting a plastic pen, it's a question of what do you want to get out of your campaign, how are you going to get the best possible return on investment through this use of promotional products, and then coming up with something which is considerably more inventive, or it might be a plastic pen, but at least you thought about it. But by the same measure, there's an awful lot of people out there who just want to buy the plastic pens and they don't want a consultancy service. And equally, and that's what kind of touched on the point we made earlier, where you need to start thinking about an e-commerce site just so you're not out of the picture for those sort of sales. It doesn't prevent you from being a consultant, but you want to be in the mix. So the other thing to bear in mind is that once you have somebody's customer for the first time, you have the opportunity to then be their go-to supplier forever. For example, I buy, every time we do a show, an exhibition, I get our shirts from Alpha Broder, and I get the local embroidery to decorate them for me. Is there a cheaper supplier than embroidery in the area? Quite possibly. I've never looked into it, because they're very reliable, they're very pleasant, they have my logo. I have no particular wish to shop around. So they've kept my loyalty, even though I don't think they're the cheapest, just because they've made it easy and convenient for me to do so. So even if you get your first order from a millennial is maybe an order for 250 pens on the website, great, that's the start of a wonderful relationship. And one of the ways to build that relationship is to use coupons. Millennials are really, really price sensitive, and they do love to feel like they're getting a deal. Case in point, I flatly refuse to buy clothes at full price. I can't do it. I have to go to TK Maxx. TK Maxx. TK Maxx in the UK, just for what it's worth. You know, I can't do it. I've got to go to Marshalls. I've got to go to a discount outlet. I just flatly refuse to buy full price. And I'm not.
Yeah, Nordstrom Rack is probably my favorite. I just wait for an email to come through. I check my Gmail like every day, waiting for a sale or something before I start to buy. Yep, it's sad, but
but it keeps us coming back. And so once you've got, so while an order is an opportunity to build a long-term relationship and build on your consultancy services, if there's an opportunity for you to just pass on, like to say, for example, you know, some are offering EQP, or, you know, HIT are offering 50%. I've seen some crazy offers from HIT and Prime and people like that. if you pass those savings on to your customers as a sort of one-time basis, it's going to keep them engaged with you. It's going to keep them coming back. And every time they come back to you, that's another time they didn't place an order with a competitor. That's another opportunity for you to build the relationship. And yes, and hopefully long-term you'll have that consultancy relationship where you would be their first thought when they think, right, I've got $10,000, $100,000, let's say. That'd be really nice to spend on this exceptional marketing campaign. Who are these guys who have repeatedly fulfilled my requirements? I'm going to go to those guys first. So it's about making sure your name's in the mix and not shutting yourself off to opportunity. And yeah, I mean, this kind of, we've kind of made this point already, but it's really important that a website is not a crock pot. You don't just switch it on and leave it. People want to, this audience are very, very savvy. They can tell if you just switched on a website 10 years ago, 5 years ago, even 2 years ago, and you haven't touched it since. They're looking for people who are invested in this platform. They're looking for people, if you're not passionate, you know, it reflects, unfortunately, your website is almost like an extension of you. If it's kind of half-heartedly put together and it hasn't been updated for the last 2 years, it doesn't reflect very well on you. It's sad to say, but it's true. That's the judgment I would make about a company if I went on there and thought,
Yeah. No, I'm an online shopping snob, so if I see a website and I don't even like the text on it, it's difficult to read, or I feel like they have a Christmas ad on in it and, you know, it's February, I leave the website.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same. I saw one the other day with a Christmas advert on it. It's actually, when I read it closely, it was actually Christmas 2015, but at first I was like, oh no,
yeah.
I've forgotten to update that website, and I had to kind of look really carefully. So timing's everything. It is a bit early to be advertising for 2015.
Yeah.
But yeah, so absolutely keep it up to date. Make sure your banner content, make sure your homepage content, make sure any offers that you're promoting are pertinent to the time of year and to the people who are visiting the site. So it's not difficult to put a banner up there, you know, 2 months in advance of the Super Bowl and just reflect that your interest and what you can do for this market. It just makes you look current, it makes you look engaged, and it's not difficult to do.
Yeah. Another thing to add is, you know, having a ticker for like your Twitter or your social media, and it shows every time you have a new post. That even shows that you're actively, you know, online, working on your online presence. Simple things like that can keep your website up to date.
Yeah. So basically, as Sarah was saying, you know, most of the websites available in the promotional products industry have some form of social media integration, so people can see your latest posts, they can see your Twitter feed. So yeah, use that. As Sarah says, it's a really easy way of showing that you're posting regular content. And another point Sarah makes on this slide is about email marketing. So there's a bunch of there's a service in the industry which I think is great. Sends out these amazing looking emails, but they are not at all tailored to the target market. So I'm not going to name because it feels rude, but I'm on the mailing list of at least five different distributors, and then all on the same day they all send me the same email, and I'm like, well, guys, that just didn't hit the mark at all. You should be segmenting your database based on their industry, based on where they are in the country, based on potentially on what they bought before. So, you know, you're not going to send a promotion for knives to a school. It's an extreme example, but you get the general idea. If you've got a promotion for 2 stress toys, there's really no point in sending to a lawyer, unless you can think of a strange way that would work. But, you know, ultimately, it's about if you put the time in to segment your database properly, and I don't know how, you know, I know a lot of distributors have got a fairly small network at the moment, but if you are using email marketing, don't be lazy with it, is kind of the point I'm trying to make. Segment and send offers that are specific to the people you're emailing. And if you don't know enough about them, then start collecting that information. So if you haven't, it's never too late to start. If you're not at the moment using a CRM system to simply say what industry they're in or what state, you know, I mean, even by state, there are things that people get passionate about by state.
And this kind of ties into what I noted earlier, how millennials love to be treated like individuals. You know, if this was 15 years ago, 10 years ago, it would be fine to just send everybody the same thing. But because people are mass marketed to now, now more than ever, it's important to send out customized, individualized emails that speak to their specific need.
Okay, so I just wanted to, just before we jump onto the summary, the last thing I wanted to do before we kind of summarize for today's content is just to show you a couple of examples, just so you guys can have a look around yourselves and see what you think. And as a starting point for Imprint, and don't groan collectively, there are some things they're doing here which we can all learn from. Now, for a start, for Imprint, obviously a huge company, but they're showing a bit of brand personality by putting people on the front page, people who genuinely work for them. They're not models. Well, I don't think they're models. They're people who genuinely work for the company. They're people who are genuinely passionate about the company. They're people who are happy to put their face in front of the company and say, yes, I'm proud to work for Imprint. You can do that. You're obviously proud to work for your company. You probably own the company. So make sure your personality is coming through, and you can do this better than for Imprint because you're smaller. The other thing that for Imprint do really rather well, cause marketing. You have to look for it a little bit. But if you go, you've got this one-on-one charitable program on the For Imprint site, which explains about how they give their time to charity. Same principle, people on there, and we're talking about what they do specifically to help people. They do have testimonials, see what our customers have to say. Great for search engine optimization, and also very, very good for kind of building credibility. And one thing they would do, and as you can see, they have a bunch of stuff on here on sale and new and close out. You know, that's for Imprint thing. They're an online seller. You don't necessarily have to lead with such an aggressive pricing strategy as we discussed earlier on. It's okay to go out there with a great looking website and use the follow-up to be the discount, so to speak. It's not, you don't necessarily have to lead with we're the cheapest on the web, because you probably won't be. But as long as you, as I say, as long as you're making it super easy for your customers to use that option to buy from you if they want to, and then if you're following up with well-timed messages and promotions to customers to keep them loyal and to engage their interest, that you don't necessarily have to lead with these in-your-face messages about how cheap everything is.
But notice how, you know, the photos of the people that work for Imprint, how much personality that adds to their website. If you were to just cover that up and, you know, strictly show the products, it would completely change the feeling of the website.
Very, very true. Again, and this is why I think they just got voted one of the top 500 places in America for millennials to work. They clearly know what they're doing when it comes to attracting millennials, and that's, find out why you can believe in those. That's such a passionate message. Belief, you know, that's not something you would normally see on a promotional products website. You'd normally see why you should buy from us, why you can believe in us. That's not careless. They're actually really, really thinking about how to connect with their audience. But one thing they do really badly, in my view, is Facebook, is social media. They have 39,000 people who like their page, and yet their traction on things they post is actually really, really small. So, and I think largely that's because they post really quite uninspiring things. You know, look at this. Look at our latest blog post, Volvo Life Paint, a safety innovation. 1 like.
Wah, wah.
I mean, seriously, you know, no one's going to share that. That's not exciting. It's not necessarily interesting. They're doing promotions, which is okay. Every now and again, the 80-20 rule. Again, you can see no likes, no comments, no shares. Again, they're not sharing things that will make their customers feel good about sharing them too. And that's where they're really falling down here. They're not sharing content that's fun and quirky and educational and interesting. And, you know, Facebook is perfect for fun. You know, LinkedIn, keep it a bit more po-faced. The LinkedIn crowd are a bit more, you know, stiff upper lip.
Yeah.
But Facebook, you can have fun with this, and you should have fun with this. You should be posting stuff on there that's entertaining and amusing and true to yourself. And, you know, if from time to time there's some people who don't find what you're posting funny, yeah, you can't win them all.
Yeah.
So just be true to yourself. Obviously, you know, don't be offensive, but be true to yourself and post things that, for every person you don't resonate with, you'll suddenly find you have that much of a stronger connection with a dozen other people.
Exactly.
Because you're being true. Custom Ink, again, collective side coming from the webinar, do another amazing job of connecting with younger people. The photography, the lifestyle photography of people, mostly younger people wearing the kit. The belief messages, again, we believe, and all this stuff. Again, they've thought about this.
Yeah.
There's some research gone into this, if you will. They too do cause marketing. They have the 3 Hearts initiative. And they do have kick-ass social media. So if you click on, go on to have a look at Custom social media, you know, they're sharing silly little things like the Minions saying it's Friday, and look, you know, they get shared, not billions, but they're getting a bit of engagement there, which kind of just speaks to that thing that, as I say, what you should share for things that other people want to share. Yep. So, okay, we said it would only take 30 minutes, so I'm going to jump onto the summary slide and let Sarah finish up.
All right. So yeah, we went over quite a few different things today to help you adjust your business so that you can sell to millennials. So, you know, just to note, more than any prior generation, they're influenced by the culture and the world developing around them. So technology, I'm sure we've all had 20 different iPhones by this point. Technology is changing. Social dynamics have a profound effect on their beliefs and actions. So, you know, as we mentioned earlier, they really do care about a company that has values and takes pride in that. But this generation is just realizing its purchasing power. So as another decade passes, the brands that they have built relationships with today will be the ones that they're loyal to tomorrow. So right now is when you should be doing the work to attract these millennials. So, you know, learning to market to this generation will prepare you for the brand or the generation after them even. So this is going to prepare you for the future.
So I'm just going to have a look. I can see some questions have come in, so I'm going to open the question panel. And lots of questions. Okay, so we'll start from the top. Will copies of the slides be available after the webinar? Yes, they will. We'll send it out to everybody. Second question, yes, the slideshow will be sent to you. Should you have a separate Facebook page for your business or just one for personal and business? In my view, you should have a separate page, because then you can label that page specific to your business. You can put your business hours on there, you can put a map on there, you can put your web address, you can put your email address. It's good for search engine optimization. I know it's extra work, but it also means you're not sharing pictures of your kids with your potential customers, because there's connecting with people and then there's oversharing.
And if you've already done a lot of work on your, you know, personal Facebook page for your business, you can just create the new page and then send an invite to everybody that, you know, is already on your personal one. So you're already, you know, a step ahead, so you don't have to worry about not having a lot of likes or engagement. So will this webinar be available for viewing again? We're recording this, so we'll be sending out the recorded version as well as the slides.
At the end, can you speak more about posting client testimonials and case studies on our website? We've tried this and found that sometimes our competitors use it to find out who our clients are. How can you avoid this? You know what, you can't. We had the same conversation here at Customer Focus. We posted testimonials of our customers onto our website, and sure enough, within about 5 days, one of them had called me to say that a competitor had called them, undercutting our pricing and asking them if they wanted to shift, and they didn't. They called me instead and told me what had happened. Because by this stage, by the time they've written me a kick-ass testimonial, they love me. Well, not me personally, but they love Customer Focus. So you have to have some faith that you're delivering great value.
And it shows you it's just not about price. It's about, you know, what kind of service you're offering them and how just having great customer service.
And don't forget, much as they don't like being aggressively sold to either. So, you know, there's going to be a degree of suspicion about that particular approach as well. I can tell you from experience that I've had the same thing happen to me. People have called me saying, oh, I can see you use, actually it was a dog walker, I can see you use this dog walker, we're cheaper. I'm like, no, I'm comfortable with my dog walker, and actually I don't like this approach. I find it tacky.
Yeah, it's a little bit too pushy. And like we said, you know, millennials, they don't like pushy salespeople. They can smell it from a mile away.
So it's not risk-free. Brian, honestly, it's not risk-free to post the testimonials on your website, but have faith that you have provided a great service and that it would take more than just a quick email to take your business away from you, because ultimately you're always vulnerable to that. And just have some faith that millennials are actually loyal once they feel like they've engaged with a person, once they feel like they've engaged with a company. They're actually very loyal. Okay, so the next question is, since most people who purchase promo products do so at their company, do they really care about discount coupons? Wouldn't they rather receive a gift card or a branded item with purchase, since they do not personally benefit from the coupon? Promo shopping is not the same as retail shopping. I would agree with you, Marissa, but you have to appreciate they're also accountable to their company for how much they spend on stuff. So I buy promotional products myself, I'm not a distributor. We obviously work very closely with the distribution with the promotional product distributor industry. But when I buy promotional products, if I've received a coupon telling me that I'm going to save 20% on my T-shirts from Embroider Me, I'm happy. It's something I can share with my manager and say, I saved us 20% today. It makes me look good. So I understand completely what you're saying, and I think actually a gift card and a branded item with purchase are both really great ideas, also fantastic ideas. But I don't think, don't discount coupons out of hand. Discount was the wrong word there. Don't disregard coupons out of hand, because even though it's not a personal, necessarily a purchase process, it does make you look like you have it makes you look good in front of your boss if you're being fiscally aware.
Yeah.
Okay. I found many millennials want things now and are unsympathetic to the manufacturing process that takes 7 to 10 days. Comments.
I do want things.
Yeah. I think this is going to come down to education. You know, it's worth setting expectations. Sarah's actually written an ebook which basically talks about priming and basically how you can, from the word go, you can start to set people's expectations subliminally. So I'm actually going to, I'm not sure this is something that we could address instantly.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking it's something that Sarah might be able to add to the ebook as just an active example. That ebook should be available within a week, by the way. We'll be sending that out to you guys as a obviously free resource for you to use. But yeah, we'd like to come back to that one, Remy. It's a really great question, and we'll research it and we'll come back with some suggestions in the ebook.
Thank you. All right, so that looks like it was all of the comments. Does anybody else have anything to say? No? Okay, so we'll send out the recorded version of this webinar as well as the slides. So I hope you weren't taking too much time taking notes, because we'll send this to you. And just thank you, everyone, for joining us today. And just really be proud of yourself for taking the initiative to learn more.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate your time, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Bye.
Bye.